faced with a sinking IOL a few days after cataract surgery, all options have to be considered. Should the IOL be exchanged or repositioned and secured appropriately? This patient presented 5 days after cataract surgery, at which the operating surgeon had noted a torn anterior capsule but was able to complete the procedure and place a lens. The lens has now subluxed inferiorly and an anterior capsular rip is clearly seen. The surgeon obviously experienced the Argentinian flag sign, which was reported back in 2005. The patriotic reporting surgeons, when they saw their national flag, promptly stood up, saluted, and sang their national anthem. Having decided to reposition and resecure the IOL, I first moved it into the anterior chamber, which is a standardized approach in such cases. After opening the conjunctiva, I marked 2 points 180 degrees opposite to each other at the limbus. A 25 gauge needle was then introduced through the sclera into the ciliary sulcus to make a sclerostomy at one of these marks. The 25 gauge vitreoretinal end grasping forceps was then introduced through the sclerostomy in the ciliary sulcus, and via the paracentesis, the haptic was moved and grasped right at the tip with the vitrectomy forceps. The haptic could then be externalized through the sclerostomy. It is important to grasp the haptic right at the tip to avoid kinking of the haptic while it is being externalized. A similar approach was used at 180 degrees from the original sclerostomy. Again, forceps passed through a sclerostomy 1.5 mm by the limbus are used to grasp the haptic right at the absolute end of it and externalize it. Once both the haptics have been externalized, they are drawn tight and the IOL recentered to make sure it is sitting in a satisfactory central position. Then one can draw the haptics again to check that the IOL position is satisfactory. The next step was to create scleral tunnels parallel to the limbus using a 23 gauge MVR blade. The tunnel commences at the point of the externalization of the haptic and proceeds parallel to the limbus 1.5 mm behind it, creating a partial thickness scleral tunnel 3 to 4 mm in length. The haptic is then grasped by suitable forceps and fed into the scleral tunnel so that it is embedded in it. Once this has been done, the same technique is used with the opposite haptic, again creating a scleral tunnel using an MVR blade commencing at the point of externalization of the haptic, extending parallel to the limbus for about 4 mm, making a nice partial thickness scleral tunnel into which the haptic can be fed and is thus secured. Now with the centrally well placed secure intraocular lens in place, Myocol is injected, which causes the pupil to come down nicely, also ensuring that no vitreous strands have presented during the procedure. Things are looking good and the conjunctiva is closed and the patient sent home. At the first post-operative check 5 days later, the IOL is sitting well with a deep anterior chamber and an unaided vision of 6/9. There's some crinkling of the posterior capsule, which is not an issue at this stage. The haptics are not at all visible in the area where they are embedded, and the point of externalization cannot be seen through the conjunctiva at all. So the question is answered. Can we